All right, well, it's no longer just speculation, even though you and I have known this entire time that when the mainstream media and Democrat politicians are saying we need to cool the temperature on both sides and both sides need to stop this, they call this both sidesism or whataboutism. Well, what about them and what about this? Now we have concrete data, no longer just theories that we throwing in the air, even though all of the mass unalivings we've seen around the country have not been from a Republican or MAGA, they've been from a left-wing radical. The two Catholic schools where people went in and took the lives of children, radicals. The firebombing of Governor Shapiro, Pennsylvania's house, left-wing radical. The Minnesota lawmakers who lost their lives, left-wing radical appointed by Tim Walz. And the person who took the life of Charlie Kirk was a transgender boyfriend having radical left-wing extremist. But they've tried to tell us to ignore our lying eyes. But now we've got data. And I'm going to show you in this video, not just the data, I'm going to show you just what type of lying hypocrites they are. Are you going to hear the mayor of Portland, Oregon is going to say what's happening. And then I'm going to show you what's happening. Not only that, I'm going to show you what it looks like when a brave MAGA Republican goes right into the belly of the beast, goes into an Antifa Portland protest, waving an American flag. Wait till you see what they did to this person. And you're going to see these left-wing radicals, how they threaten the life of a journalist. Just wait till you see what I got in this video. But as you can see right here, it says study left-wing T-word hits a 30-year high. Now, let's not forget how we got here. And you all know I dislike sharing footage of these folks at all. But for this particular situation, I've got to. I'm going to let you hear the mayor of Portland as he lays out what he feels is going on in his city. And then I'm going to show you footage of what's really going on. So listen to this.
Out of the ICE facility twice this weekend. I saw 3 women protesting. There's been a couple of incidents over the last couple months, but nothing with outside of the normal function of police. No, I was.
Now you just heard him say, and I let him play it
outside of the ICE facility twice this weekend. I saw 3 women protesting. There's been a couple of incidents over the last couple months, but nothing with outside of the normal function of police.
So nothing outside of the normal function of what they're accustomed to. They're in Portland. Now, let me show you actual on the ground footage of what's going on in Portland. Now, the mayor just said he only saw 3 ladies and, you know, nothing outside the norm. So either one of 2 things, either he's lying or this is the actual norm where they're saying, hey, no big deal. Check this out. And guess what's really funny about this? You hear the lamestream media and the Democrat politicians talk about ICE agents who are wearing masks while they're going out doing their job. And there's an obvious reason. These left-wing radicals, they get their face and their name, they'll terrorize their family, and somebody can end up getting hurt. But they never say anything about these cowards who most of them don't even live in the city or the state where they're protesting. That's all they do is wear masks and hide their faces. But they want to claim that the ICE agents are somehow some scared Gestapo when they do the same exact thing. They're a bunch of cowards. And I'm going to show you what happens when a real MAGA Republican walks right in the middle of them. And so the mayor said nothing's going on there, but we clear as day just saw that that was a lie. Now, this clip right here is just sad. I want you to see what happens to this journalist. Her name is Katie Davis Court. Watch what happens when these left-wing extremists confront her. They threaten her life. Check this out. I wish I was there because I would have punched one of them in the face for it. Check this out.
Go home, Katie.
Go.
Go home,
Get
Katie.
the fuck out of here.
Go home, Katie.
You are not fucking welcome or safe here. Guys. Guys.
You keep your fucking heads to yourselves, Carberries. Fuck you.
Go. It's fucking night.
Just fine, Carberries.
It's fucking night, dude. You are gonna fuck up. Then go. Fucking move quickly. Move quickly, then.
Go home.
Move quickly.
Go home.
Oh my God! Come on! You're fucking unwanted!
Just go.
Unwanted! You're unwanted!
Go.
Yo!
Go.
Fuck out.
Now, you just heard them threaten that lady, told her she was going to get effed up. She's not safe there. And she's just a journalist. She just hanging out watching things. But this is supposed to be the welcoming crowd, you know, the all-loving people. These folks are deranged. They're insane. Have you noticed how the treatment for mental health has increased over the last 10 years, but people's mental health has declined? I really do believe that this is an agenda by the left where they made such a big influence on mental health, where they have a reason to get people in front of doctors and to diagnose children, to get them in a private room with another left-wing radical who's going to make them feel how, even though they're a boy, they probably should have been a girl. And if they're a girl, they probably should have been a boy. And how, if they're confused, they're not anything like that. And how, you know what? Anybody that doesn't agree with them is the enemy. And anybody that doesn't agree with what they say needs to be terminated. You've got left-wing extremists who think like this, who teach this crap, and this is all in the name of mental health. So when you hear cities like Chicago and New York throwing millions of dollars into mental health, but yet you see the mental health getting worse, you know that that's a problem. Now check out this video where this man walks right in the middle of Antifa with an American flag, daring them to do anything to him in Portland. You're going to love this. Check this out.
Hey, no G pulled up to the 6 tray. Talking about they want beef, only which way. Hey, no deep when we roll up. You ain't gotta say it, it's a game that we throw up. We the ones that go shoot up your party and ride around town.
Don't come out every night, they're bitches.
Yeah.
So what made you want to come out here?
Because I seen female here, and she was being surrounded by all these people. And, hey, I got a job right here. I work at Taco Bell. Okay. I work at Taco Bell. I just got off. Hey, I respect that. Who else has a job? You got a job.
Don't say capitalism.
You take off your mask. Right here. Okay, you should be on the right side.
No. The right side? What the fuck? You should be on the right side.
But see, did you hear what they said to him? He's on the wrong side. They were calling him traitor. And let me explain this to you all. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid. Hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app, and I'll never ask you for a super chat. You hitting that like button, it helps spread the video out. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're already subscribed or you're subscribing now, make sure you hit notifications and select all. YouTube has issues with getting notifications out, but when you select all, YouTube will make sure you get notified when I upload new videos. If you are a non-black person watching this, I hope this is another example, whether you watch my videos, Greg Foreman, Officer Tatum, Melanie King, there are millions of black folks out here who don't agree with that ghetto. And understand this, I'm going to say something, and I pray that you don't take this too offensively. Please understand that when I say this, I know what I'm saying. Don't take offense to it. But there's a difference between niggas and black people. I don't hang with niggas. And a nigga don't have to be black. A nigga can be white. A nigga can be Hispanic. That is an ignorant acting ghetto person. Most black people don't like niggas. But what happens is the media puts the niggas on TV. They put them out, and I'm not saying it with the hard ER. So please understand. And if you're hearing this, you're saying, oh my God, I can't believe Brian is saying this. There's a reason. Because what happens is when they do stupid stuff and they put it on the TV, think about it. How many people sit there and say, you know what? That's probably one of the ignorant bunch. No, they see a black person saying, oh, F this and F Trump and F America. And they think that all of us think that way. Like it's a monolith, and it's not true. And you see that patriotic man waving an American flag, and he came down there because he saw online a woman had been assaulted. And I saw that video. A woman had been assaulted, and then Antifa hid the man and the girl who had hit her with a pole in their Antifa safe house. And so him, and there's tons of others like that are going out into the belly of the beast saying, okay, if you bad like that, I got my flag up. What you gonna do about it? And realize them punks know exactly who to run up on and who not to, because they'll get everything they're looking for if they run up on me, because I'm proudly a Republican and I'm proudly an American. But understand, we take so much backlash because, you know, there is a portion of America that may have an issue with different races. Who knows? Every culture has that. But from within our own race, it's almost like we're expected to just go with the idiocy, go with the radicalism, go with this Democrat agenda of aborting babies, for open borders, high taxes, just because they quote unquote supposedly identify with black people. The Democrat Party was the worst thing to happen to black Americans ever. But they were just so good at mental monopoly. So they monopolized the brain space of a lot of black people. I know one relative to this day. When I broke down going into the 2024 election with Trump and Kamala, I laid out, and this wasn't some us just going off emotion. I laid out point by point on policy by policy why they were different. He agreed with me. He's 74 years old. My father is my cousin, but he's like a great cousin to me. He's my dad's first cousin. And he told me, he said, Brian, you're right. He's like, but I just can't bring myself to vote Republican. So you mean to tell me that when somebody's showing you factually in your face that, hey, this will destroy you, it's destroying your community that you supposedly love, you got to change, you can't. And that's not just black people like that. How many of y'all know white or Hispanic Democrats like that have been mentally monopolized, and they just cannot They know it's not right. They don't even agree with abortion. They believe in God, and they know the Democrats don't. They don't stand for most of that crap, but they just cannot bring themselves to support the other side. And when black people realized Abe Lincoln was a Republican, when black people realized that the filibuster that under the Civil Rights Bill was broken by Republicans voting for that, when they started realizing like, yo, we never given Republicans a chance. And then why would anybody who we criticize, who we call all types of names, who we criticize for being racist, that's not incentivizing them to want to help. But see, the Democrats were smart. Those Ivy League high up Democrats, they tried to pull in reverse racism through DEI. And luckily we spotted it, we rooted it out. Now, I want you to check out one guy that I highly respect, and you probably are familiar with him if you're a conservative, and that's Glenn Beck. Listen to this breakdown that Glenn Beck did about the left-wing radical violence, because it was awesome, and then I'll get back to it. Check this out.
55% of left of center Americans say it is somewhat justified to murder a sitting president. This is no longer protest culture. This is terrorism. I said for years, something like, off the top of my head, socialists, anarchists, Islamists, I think I also threw communists in there, will work together to destabilize Israel and Europe. It will spread to America, and the plan is to collapse the Western world. Let's go to the timeline of the last few months. Let's start in December 2024, December last year. This 20-something guy allegedly gunned down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, Midtown Manhattan. The killer's manifesto raged against the healthcare industry, and left-wing voices treated him like some heroic Robin Hood. January 27th, 2025. A man carrying a Molotov cocktail or two was arrested near the U.S. Capitol, allegedly saying he planned to kill Trump-appointed Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, Defense Secretary Hegseth, and House Speaker Mike Johnson. In February, we have the Tesla takedown. These are attacks on the vehicles and the dealerships all across. In March, a self-described queer scientist was arrested for allegedly firebombing the New Mexico Republican Party headquarters in Albuquerque. Graffiti that read ICE equals KKK was found on the outside of the burned building. April 2025, Pennsylvania, the governor there, Josh Shapiro, his official residence was firebombed on Passover night. The suspect allegedly set the governor's mansion on fire because of what Shapiro, who is Jewish, quote, wants to do to the Palestinian people, end quote. In May, it was the murder of two young Israeli embassy staffers. The alleged killer is a 31-year-old man who allegedly shouted, "Free, free Palestine." June. An illegal immigrant from Egypt allegedly firebombed a peaceful Jewish protest in Boulder, Colorado. Also in June, a pro-Palestinian activist was arrested for allegedly torching 11 vehicles in New York. It was also the month when the mobs of anti-ICE rioters unleashed their fury on the streets of Los Angeles. July 7th, man shoots some officers. Rioters tried to burn down another ICE facility, assaulting police officers until the riots were broken up with tear gas and arrests. Graffiti on the side outside of the facility reads, "Kill your masters, socialist, anarchist, Islamist." July 11th, we have more anti-ICE chaos. It erupted during a raid on a cannabis farm in Ventura, California. Activists again assaulted ICE officers and vehicles, with one protester appearing to fire shots at federal agents. All of this since December. We're talking the last 8 months. Murder, attempted murder, arson, vandalism, total chaos. This is the very definition of terrorism.
Wow. And he's dead on. And that's what's happening in this country. They're radicalizing people. Let's go to this article real quick and real fast. One thing I do want to bring up, and I want to make sure I point out, is that I'm extremely excited about the partnership that I started with Chapter. And who is Chapter? Chapter is a company that gives unbiased support and assistance to seniors when choosing their Medicare plan. When my mother turned 65 and she started looking for the right Medicare plan, she was scared. And you know what? She told me that it made her get to the point to where when she chose a plan, she just wanted to stick with it rather than dealing with the phone calls and sitting on the phone with people who, rather than trying to help her, was just trying to sell her stuff. And then when we found Chapter, it was a blessing, because Chapter was focused on making sure she had the best Medicare plan available, because it wouldn't it suck to find out that the plan that you've been on, you're paying into, doesn't cover the prescriptions you need. No longer you have the doctors in network that you work with. So it's at least worth it to check to make sure you have the best Medicare plan available. So I highly encourage you to check out Chapter. You can give them a call, use the number on the screen, or you can visit the website, go to askchapter.org/realpolitics. And that's whether you visit the website or you give them a call. Make sure you tell them that Brian Maxwell sent you, so they'll take good care of you. Okay. Because that's extremely, extremely important. But let's get off into this article. All right. So as we see, study left-wing T-word hits 30-year high. An in-depth look at the ideology of domestic terror attacks in the U.S. has revealed that 2025 set a 30-year high for radical left extremism, according to the Nonpartisan Center for Strategic and International Studies. The first half of 2025 was marked by an increase in left-wing terror attacks and plots in the United States, which continues a trend noticeable over the last decade. According to CSIS analysts Daniel Byman and Riley McCabe, in absolute terms, left-wing incidents are on track in 2025 to reach historically high levels in the last 30 years. Not only is the left more violent, but the right is markedly less violent under President Trump this year. Moreover, 2025 marks the first time in more than 30 years that left-wing attacks outnumber those from the far right, the study read. Indeed, the increase in left-wing attacks is particularly noticeable because attacks from far-right perpetrators have sharply declined in 2025. The study comes as President Donald Trump has vowed to investigate the funding of left-wing protests and his executive order labeling Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. Antifa is a militarist, anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government, law enforcement authorities, and our system of law. Trump's executive order signed last week read. It uses illegal means to organize and execute a campaign of violence and terrorism nationwide to accomplish these goals. This campaign involves coordinated efforts to obstruct enforcement of federal laws through armed standoffs with law enforcement, organized riots, violent assaults on immigration and customs enforcement and other law enforcement officers, and routine doxing of and other threats against political figures and activists. Antifa recruits, trains, and radicalizes young Americans to engage in this violence and suppression of political activity, then employs elaborate means and mechanism to shield the identities of its operatives, conceal its funding sources and operations in an effort to frustrate law enforcement and recruit additional members. The attacks from the left began to rise in 2015 as Trump was starting his political career in earnest and vowing to unseat Democrats from the White House after 2 full terms of former President Barack Obama. Our analysis of terrorism trends in the United States shows that, indeed, left-wing violence has risen in the last 10 years, particularly since President Donald Trump's rise to political prominence in 2016, the study noted. More contentious politics in the United States and the expansion of the Make America Great Again MAGA movement appear to have re-energized violent left-wing extremists. Still, the left is not as violent as it was last century, according to the study. The left-wing movement as a whole has not returned to its violent heights of the 1960s and 1970s, but the number of terrorist incidents involving left-wing extremists so far this year puts 2025 on pace to be the left's most violent year in more than 3 decades, it read. As far as the reasons for the precipitous decline of right-wing extremism, the CSIS speculates Trump is winning on issues the right has long protested, rendering no reason to protest for them. The decline is striking and explanations are speculative, CSIS wrote. One possibility is that many traditional grievances that violent right-wing extremists have espoused in the past, opposition to abortion, hostility to immigration, and suspicious government agencies, among others, are now embraced by President Trump and his administration. No, let's just call it what it is. They love to try to put it together like, oh, right-wing extremism. And I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, but we're talking about right now, these last 30 years, especially the last decade, left-wing radicalism has hit a new high. And yeah, the right isn't going off because the right knows if we decide to let loose, it's going to be hell to pay. And everybody's trying to keep that from happening. Because remember now, the right is the pro-Second Amendment side. The left is out there with slingshots and rocks and sticks. So they better keep the temperature low, because how long do they expect the right to sit idly by while we watch these people attempt to destroy our country? It's not going to last long. And you know what? That's what the powers that be want. They've been trying to get a civil war in this country since the Civil War. And you saw the article saying in the 1960s and the 70s, Barack Obama, one of his main political allies, Bill Ayers, was a member of the Weather Underground domestic terrorist group that was blowing up government buildings back in the 60s and the 70s. If you aren't familiar with it, look up the Weathermen Underground. There's documentaries on them. Do you know a lot of those folks that were involved in that are left-wing Democrat political operatives today when they should be in prison, but they're not. They're loyal allies, and they're helping radicalize more Democrats every day. And they're really good at shielding their money. But the Trump administration, they've never had an administration so focused on breaking it up. And look at what President Trump has done in the first 8 or 9 months. I have full confidence we're going to get to the funding source of these left-wing radical groups, and it will be destroyed. And then we can get back to debating our politics like a civilized nation should be, with the power of the tongue rather than the power of the gun. You understand what I'm saying? So I just wanted to bring this to you to let you know it's no longer speculation. We know fact now. So share a comment. Tell me what you think about it. I want to thank you from the top and the bottom of my heart for you watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe. Most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.